I'm Katie Greifeld in New York. Welcome to Bloomberg Markets. We're 30 minutes into the U.S. trading day on this Monday, January 22nd. Here are the top stories we're following. Earnings watch. And let me first start by introducing myself. I'm Katie Greifeld. You may know me from the close and ETF IQ on Bloomberg TV, but I decided I wanted to wake up a little bit earlier and join you in the mornings, and we'll be spending the next hour together daily. You can expect a sharper focus on the equity market, single stock stories, and C-suite conversations. That all starts today. So let's kick things off with the markets. Abigail Doolittle joins us now.
Drinking.
Abigail Doolittle, thank you so much. And for more on the markets now, we're joined by Amy Wu Silverman, RBC Capital Markets Managing Director and Equity Derivative Strategist. So thrilled to say Amy joins us on set. It's great to see you, especially coming off the first new record for the S&P 500 in about 2 years. And it was interesting, Amy, that for all the talk of better breath at the end of 2023, feels like it was big tech that got us back there. That was a fling, maybe back now we're to the type of the market. Talk to us about what we're seeing in the options market, like you brought up. In your note, you said that when you look at the sentiment there, it's not exactly the same as what we saw last year in derivatives. Let's talk a little bit more about that 2-month fling, because it really felt that at the end of last year, the Russell 2000, it was going parabolic at points in the final moments of 2023. What are we seeing in the options market there?
So that has been extremely interesting because,
and so that's the single stock picture, and we'll get into that further in our conversation. But let's broaden out and let's talk about the VIX here. You take a look at the VIX, and it's below 14. It is a little bit higher this morning, but when you're taking a look and trying to take the temperature of the broader market, trying to get a sense of where volatility is priced in, is the VIX still the measure that you're looking at?
So look, this is
all right, Amy, stick with us. For now, let's take a look at what's moving in the markets. I'm thrilled to say Bloomberg's Bailey Lipschultz joins us right now.
Katie, keeping an eye on Gilead.
So, Bailey, a few points there. An existential question about when Boeing becomes a value company. I'm going to have to steal that one and ask a few people. Let's talk a little bit more about DWAC. Of course, you and I have been following meme stocks for years at this point. You take a look at DWAC right now, currently up about 21%. Is this an election proxy at this point? What is actually moving this stock?
I think yes and no, Katie. When I talk to investors, they still just kind of look at it.
So for better or worse, that's one to watch, of course, as we get closer and closer to November. Bloomberg's Bailey Lipschultz, thank you so much. Now coming up, Netflix kicks off big tech earnings with the big names in technologies driving the S&P 500. We'll have the details on what to expect next. This is Bloomberg. Well, earnings from big tech names are rapidly approaching, and that includes Netflix tomorrow, Tesla and IBM on Wednesday, and Microsoft and Alphabet next week. Bloomberg Technology co-host Ed Ludlow, of course, all across it, and he joins us now. Ed, a lot to look forward to. What are you keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I think when it comes to those names this week, each of them has an individual
stage of the cycle where we can actually talk about the boring bottom line, fundamentals, et cetera. Okay, so that's the Netflix picture. Of course, we get Netflix in a 24 hours or so. Talk to us more about what else that we can expect. I know that Intel is reporting. I know you have a great interview coming up later in the week.
Yeah, look, we're interested in
Ed Ludlow, great to see you. And of course, you can catch Ed along with Caroline Hyde coming up on Bloomberg Technology in just over 90 minutes or less than an hour, whatever you want to say, because the new time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Now let's welcome back in Amy Wu Silverman. She is RBC Capital Markets Managing Director and Equity Derivative Strategist. And as Ed Ludlow was just telling us, of course, we're looking forward to Netflix. And you look through some of the screening that you were talking about. Apparently, Netflix, it screens cheap when you look at its earnings.
That's exactly right.
Maybe now's the time to try to hedge Tesla before it reports earnings. So the fact that we're talking about Netflix, we're talking about Tesla, screening cheap relative to recent implied earnings move. I mean, is there something that we can extrapolate there to the broader index when we think about the S&P 500? Yeah, it's exciting. Who's next? That was definitely the AI question around this time last year. Let's talk about the flip side of that. So those are the cheap implied moves when you take a look at earnings. On the flip side, who's screening rich right now?
Yeah, so it's interesting when we take the flip side. So these are
And on the window being blown out, if it is any comfort, apparently it's a manufacturing issue. It's not a design issue.
Great.
I don't know if that'll make you sleep a little bit easier. But let's also talk a little bit about Invesco. I see this on your list as a standout rich implied move for the next week. Invesco, of course, an asset manager. Wouldn't think that there would be heightened nervousness necessarily around Invesco. What do you see when it comes to that name?
So it's
All right, so a lot to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks. Really great to get a preview with you, Amy. Appreciate you making time for us. That, of course, is Amy Wu Silverman. She is RBC Capital Markets Managing Director and Equity Derivatives Strategist. Now, still ahead, we're going to take a look at the companies making the most social buzz today. That's in our Social Climber segment up next. This is Bloomberg. All right, time now for Social Climbers. A look at the stocks making waves on social media this morning. First up, we have Archer Daniels, the company suspending its CFO and reporting after the bell. So obviously a big week for the airlines. And of course, you can follow all of the latest company buzz on TREN Go. That is on your Bloomberg terminal. Now coming up, Macy's telling Arkhouse and Brigade Capital Management to shop somewhere else, rejecting its multi-billion-dollar takeover offer. Well, Macy's stock higher this morning after rejecting a $5.8 billion buyout from Arkhouse Management and Brigade Capital Management. Macy's management saying that the offer lacked, quote, compelling value. The retailer also announced that it was closing 5 stores and laying off over 2,000 employees last week. Now, for a check on the retail industry at large, we're joined now by Elias Sabo. He is Coty CEO. Coty, of course, invests in middle market consumer companies. Elias, it's great to have you here. And let's start with that Macy's new and the lack of compelling value in that $3.8 billion offer. So clearly, Macy's optimistic about their future, if you can say that, and clearly optimistic about their valuations. Is there anything that we can extrapolate out from that episode to the broader retail industry?
Yeah, good morning, Katie, and thanks for having me.
So the consumer is still strong. And when viewed through the lens of your portfolio companies, how does that break down by demographic, if at all?
Yeah, so a great question.
And so, Elias, let's stick at the high end. Let's stick with the people who are shopping at Lugano Diamonds. You IPO'd in 2006. Obviously, you've seen several market and economic cycles at this point. That narrative that the consumer is strong, especially the high-end shopper, is still strong. How does that fare heading into a possible recession?
Yeah, so I think this time.
So the consumer is still spending. You're still spending as well over at Coty. Of course, you mentioned that you recently invested in the Honey Pot. That is a feminine care brand. How are you thinking about that in your portfolio of holdings? Is that a staple need, or the fact that it's promoting better for you wellness, theoretically paying up a little bit for that? Does that fall into, something closer to a luxury? And Elias, looking through your portfolio, like you said, you have definitely consumer represented in there, apparel makers, outdoor brands, luxury in there as well. Are those the types of industries that you're looking to stay in going forward? Are you thinking about broadening out at all?
Yeah, we will broaden out as we did with the Honey Pot.
Of course, when you look at your portfolio, a lot of consumer names, a lot of companies that make their products in one location, then have to ship it to another location. And with that in mind, when we think about the tensions in the Red Sea and elsewhere, the issues with the Panama Canal, are any of your portfolio holdings seeing issues as a result of that?
Not yet. So it's a great question, Katie.
All right, Elias, it's a great note to end it on. Really appreciate your time. That is Elias Sabo, the CEO of Coty. And we'll continue our coverage of retail and the Macy's story. Later on, we'll speak to the managing partner at Arkhouse on Bloomberg TV today at 2:30 p.m. New York time. For now, though, let's get a check on these markets. Abigail Doolittle standing by with more.
Well, we are still looking at an up day here, Katie. We have the S&P 5.
Don't be scared of big tech. Abigail Doolittle, thank you so much. Now coming up, shipping disruptions on the Red Sea and how it's fueling inflation. We'll continue that conversation with Brandon Daniels, Exeger's CEO, next on Wall Street Week Daily with David. Wall Street Week airs every Friday at 6 p.m. New York time here on Bloomberg. But every day at this time, we will have a Wall Street Week conversation daily with David Weston. David Weston, it's great to see you.
Great to be with you. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah.
It's great to have you.
Well, Brandon, what have your conversations sounded like in the last month? When you're talking to your clients, how concerned are they about this Red Sea situation?
Well,
Well, Brandon, like David said, I mean, the Red Sea and the Panama Canal, two different parts of the world, and of course, dealing with two different issues, as you alluded to. Of course, geopolitics in the Red Sea, climate change when it comes to the Panama Canal. What is the bigger medium to long-term concern for your clients? Is it escalating geopolitics or is it climate change?
I think they are both issues.
All right, so a lot to look forward to, of course, on Friday, Wall Street Week. But we'll also see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Of course, our thanks to Brandon Daniels of Exeter, and of course, Bloomberg's David Weston. This is Bloomberg.